peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us. As the COVID-19 pandemic spreads across the globe, we are seeing an alarming pattern. The poorest and most vulnerable members of society are being hardest hit both by the pandemic and the response. I am especially concerned about the well-being of the world's children. Thankfully, children have so far been largely spared from the most severe symptoms of the disease, but their lives are being totally upended. I appeal to families everywhere and leaders at all levels: protect our children. Today, we are launching a report that highlights the risks they face. First, education. Almost all students are now out of school. Some schools are offering distance learning, but this is not available to all. Children in countries with slow and expensive internet services are severely disadvantaged. Second, food. A staggering 310 million school children, nearly half of the world's total, rely on school for a regular source of daily nutrition. Even before COVID-19, the world faced unacceptable rates of childhood malnutrition and stunting. Third, safety. With children out of school, their communities in lockdown and the global recession biting deeper, family stress levels are rising. Children are both victims and witnesses of domestic violence and abuse. With schools closed, an important early warning mechanism is missing. There is also a danger that girls will drop out of school, leading to an increase in teenage pregnancies. And we must not ignore the growing risks children are facing as they spend more time online. This can leave children vulnerable to online sexual exploitation and grooming. A lack of face-to-face contact with friends and partners may lead to heightened risk-taking, such as sending sexualized images, and increased and unstructured time online may expose children to potentially harmful and violent content, as well as greater risk of cyberbullying. Governments and parents all have a role in keeping children safe. Social media companies have a special responsibility to protect the vulnerable. Fourth, health. Reduced household income will force poor families to cut back on essential health and food expenditures, particularly affecting children, pregnant women, and breastfeeding mothers. Polio vaccination campaigns have been suspended. Measles immunization campaigns have stopped in at least 23 countries. And as health services become overwhelmed, sick children are less able to access care. With the global recession gathering pace, there could be hundreds of thousands additional child deaths in 2020. These are just some of the findings of the report we are issuing today. And its conclusion is clear. We must act now on each of these threats to our children. Leaders must do everything in their power to cushion the impact of the pandemic. What started as a public health emergency has snowballed into a formidable test for the global promise to leave no one behind. The report urges government and donors to prioritize education for all children. It recommends they provide economic assistance, including cash transfers, to low-income families and minimize disruptions to social and healthcare services for children. We must also prioritize the most vulnerable: children in conflict situations, child refugees and displaced persons, children living with disabilities. Finally, we must commit to building back better by using the recovery from COVID-19 to pursue a more sustainable and inclusive economy and society in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. With the pandemic placing so many of the world's children in jeopardy, I reiterate my urgent appeal: let us protect our children and safeguard their well-being.
Since 1991, welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya, in conjunction with its satellite station and a sister company, broadcasting through Berlin. Good morning, viewers, or good afternoon, wherever you are in Africa. It's afternoon in some parts and a good morning in some parts. Our topic today under diplomatic leads is on the war in Somalia. Is Somalia losing the war or turning the war against its allies? Those who went in to pacify Somalia, namely Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Burundi. Since 1991, after the overthrow of Siad Barre, the American intervention in Somalia collapsed. Americans ran with their trousers in the knees, left the problem of Somalia in Mogadishu to the vultures that took over Mogadishu. Dismembered this state called Somalia. Somalia has never recovered again. It is very sad, therefore, for us as Africans and African states that are frontline states that are close to Somalia to sit and wait and watch. The situation in Somalia again goes from bad to worse because of its wrong government, the government of President Farmajo in Mogadishu is not cooperating with the member states that took their troops to pacify Somalia. Kenya decided, and you know from the United Nations Security Council, Kenya was told never to be part and parcel of the frontline states or of the fighting forces or send any troops in Somalia. That resolution was revised sometime in 2015 when Kenya decided to send its troops, or in 2012 or 13 when Kenya decided to send troops into Somalia. Previously, Kenya had been the bedrock of Somalia's political mediation processes, making peace possible, trying to bring back this nation to its feet. Uganda was the first country to send in troops with a contingent of almost 8,000 men, then later on raised it to about 12,000 men. It has the biggest contingent in Mogadishu. Ethiopia also followed Uganda, and there was a creation of what we call AMISOM, under which the united command of the AMISOM African Union support would come to give the troops on the ground, the boots on the ground, the strength to manage to pacify Somalia. But of late, we have seen events turning against the people who helped, who went in to help. The hostile attitude, the hostile statements, the hostile press statements coming from Mogadishu, condemning Kenya and the other people who have come in to help this great nation of Somalia. This indeed worries us as experts and as citizens of these countries in the great Horn of Africa and East Africa. It is therefore an important duty for us to see where the problem is coming from. And with me on the line to analyze this deeper is none other than the Global Peace Initiative man himself, Juma Daniel Omonde, Executive Director of the Global Peace Foundation of Kenya. And online, in the headquarters of Punchline, is none than my best friend, Miriam Ogotu. and our senior researcher and anchor in Punchline. Right in the command center, political command center of Punchline Television via satellite is myself, Dr. David Matanga. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. The situation, last week we saw the Kenya government issuing a statement saying that money is being channeled through Kenya, or money is being sent to Kenya by the Somali intelligence network to destabilize, to kill people, to help Al-Shabaab, to kill us, and to kill anybody who stands in the way of President Farimacho. This statement was denied, this statement was categorically refuted by the government of Somalia. Somalia government wrote a statement saying that is propaganda. But indeed, as facts are on the ground, and if you look at the documents like this, that I have I had this document in possession as far as January, as far as February. Information started trickling in that there is a lot of money transfers coming from Qatar, passing through Uganda, coming through Kenya, and some coming through Kenya. From Kenya, it is being distributed, and some going to Eritrea, and some going to Mogadishu. I don't have anything to hide because these documents are here. The document is very clear. The documents indicate the huge amounts of money facilitated by the government of Somalia itself. Against, if you look at the events that are taking place because of the struggle between the central government or the transitional government, which is in Mogadishu, and the other states of Jubaland and others in provinces, or some governments, mini governments. You know, Somalia has got mini governments, and each government has got a president. Part of the problem why Somalia fell into conflict, and I want to be very honest to tell you, is because of the Americans lied to Siad Barre that you can govern this country better if you had smaller states in the form of, of provinces. And Somalia Siad Barre took the advice, started dividing Somalia into several provinces, Jubaland, the Somaliland, the Puntland, and so on. So today, as we speak, it has come to our notice that the relationship between the Farimacho, the president, and the other states is not very good. 2 elections that were supposed to be conducted in Somalia this year, seem to be on a wait and see solution. Do we conduct it? Do we not? So as the elections approach, President Farimacho is trying to make sure that he takes control of every instrument of power in Somalia, locking up journalists. We have so far 4 journalists who have been locked up in Somalia today, who are suffering in jail because President Farimacho took 1 ventilator. You know, there was only 1 ventilator in Somalia, and he took it to his house. And the journalist took a picture and sent it out to us, to most of us. And then we have also a power struggle between the Prime Minister of Somalia, Hassan Hari, and the President. So these are internal divisions that are creating an exit route. You see, most of the time when you see the American hegemony wanting to divert attention, they create a war. When every election year if you see every election year in America, for the last 30 years, there has been something significant that happens in the world. Something significant. Either you attack Kuwait, Either you attack Iraq, either you attack Afghanistan, or you attack Libya. You see, in order to create an impression, or you kill or dump Osama bin Laden, slaughter him, and throw him in an ocean, south in Pacific Ocean, or in Atlantic Ocean, or Indian Ocean. These events have been happening in Somalia. So, my team and my correspondents under the headquarters, I want to come back to you. I've given you a background. Mm-hmm. That is the situation happening in Somalia now.
Yes, and just before our correspondent, before Mr. Daniel Juma could join in, perhaps also today a story was carried out on the Standard newspaper, page 14. Maybe I'll read just a bit of it so that our viewers there can understand the premise over this, and maybe our viewers can understand the premise of our conversation today. So since 2011, Kenya has been fighting Al-Shabaab inside Somalia alongside AMISOM troops, and the troops have made substantial gains on the ground by routing the terrorists and restoring law and order in large swathes of the country. So now, just go slowly there and see some report that has come out, but they're clearly wrong. That is, if a confidential report seen by the Standard newspaper is factual. According to the report, Somalia National Intelligence and Security Agency, NISA, is in bed with Al-Shabaab and is aiding the terrorist group to target Kenyan soldiers. So the NISA, the report says, has not only been providing confidential information to facilitate the militants' operation against Kenya, but also funding them. The report claims there is evidence of NISA giving Al-Shabaab 1.5 million US dollars, that amounts to about 159 million Kenya shillings here. So I was reading that article in the morning, a doctor, while we were preparing for this show, and I thought, well, were they small?
First of all, before we go anywhere, let's turn to the document. Juma, it didn't arrive. I'm sending it to you. I wanted to turn to Dr. Juma, but let me send you the document and you have a perusal, then we come back to you. Let's proceed with Medium. And when you look at that story, it is very clear that something wrong has taken place. And you know what has taken place. This time is nothing but the supply of money to Al-Shabaab. It is not a lie. This has been happening because there are countries from the Western world, one Norway, France, and Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates and Turkey. These countries are forcing the government of Somalia to react to certain serious reports, to seriously attack their neighbors. Let me give you an example. For it. When I was handling the case of the Kenyan case at the ICJ, I went deeper to dig out to find who was funding the Somali government, paying the bills, the legal bills, paying for their stay in the hotels, the delegation, paying for everything. It was Norway and Qatar. So when you look at the transfers which come through Dabashir, and then from Dabashir, they are sympathizers even in this country who are helping in laundering that money. And this is the seriousness of what the system here. It is not us who printed it. It's the government of Kenya intelligence systems that printed this material. And they have evidence of people here who are loudmouth, but they are part of the system that is helping those guys to maim us on a daily basis. And while we are doing that, countries like Turkey, Qatar, they have come in fighting for who should control the post Al-Shabaab era of Somalia. The resources, the fishing, the military Qatar is arming. If I'm telling you, I want to tell you people listening to me, the most armed country now on African continent in terms of air force is Somalia. Somalia has got 1,000 pilots trained to man the most sophisticated planes, Air Force planes that have been provided by Turkey. What is it that they are doing? What is it that they are giving? What is in Somalia that forces the Turkish people to arm them? It's because they want the oil. They want to control the resources. And on top of that, Turkey and Qatar and the United Arab Emirates are not seeing eye to eye because of the competition of the same resources. The government in Mogadishu, headed by President Farimajo, who is watching this television interview now, because I am not bothered. I have told him, he's on Twitter, I can see him watching. You have failed us as people who came to help you. You have failed us. If you have turned to be an enemy, you feed the enemy to come to kill us, then you have no reason but only to be removed and voted out by the people of Somalia. It is sad that the whole government turns to fund a project. The same people that we are wasting our resources from Uganda and Kenya to protect. So it must be made very clear. I want to put it to you, Miriam, and Dr. Juma, that the situation as far as the situation, as far I am trying to get the notes across to Juma so that he can have the notes. The situation as far as Somalia is concerned, we need to seek what methods, now that we have got this evidence of Somalia giving secrets, which we as governments are able to share with them, then they share with the enemy. Then we have to review our strategy. Kenya has to review its strategy. And the only thing Kenya can do to review the strategy, there you are, Juma, it is on your phone. The only thing that Kenya can do is to review the strategy. There are four ways. How do we kill a conflict? Since we have Juma here, a conflict resolution be healed by the brain, the heart, and the stomach. If one of these elements is missing, that's why you see money is the stomach. Money is the stomach. Without the money, you can't heal a conflict. And without the heart, you can't sustain a conflict. And without the head, you can't plan a conflict. Or you can't heal the conflict. You must have the three working. Do we need more boots on the ground to sweep the areas that have this? Then you wipe up the problem once for all and hand over. If you can see what has happened in Iraq, the Americans wiped out the most terrible organizations. They handed over power to the Iraqis. You can see the management is going on. It can have a crisis, but that's their problem. I think time has come for Kenya to think of that. Is this their problem? And if it is their problem, because if you have people turning to give evidence and to give secrets to the same men who are coming to kill us, whom we are fighting for, I bet we are in a very bad situation. Juma.
Thank you. I've received the report, and it is very short. shocking that a friendly nation, or a supposedly friendly nation, with whom we have, partnered, in the war against terrorism, can turn against us or against the partner and have what this alliance with the Al-Shabaab. Now, of course, the issue of Somalia, as you know, Somalia, from, is the fall of the Side Barrier regime, and, effectively being hey. And what countries in Africa have been doing, of course, with the help of ANSOM and the UN, and I must congratulate the government of Kenya, government of Uganda, Burundi, for providing forces to AMISOM to help stabilize Somalia. One of the reasons why you have absence of, basically why you have, failed state is, whenever we have a government, whenever we have a situation whereby government cannot control its own border or its own people, and like you rightfully said, I think I also believe that it was not right to divide Somalia in various, in various, regions as was done. As you know, Somalia is a monolithic community. Basically, they speak one language. They are not as tribal as us, where we have different tribes. Kikuyus, Luos, Luyas. Somalians, they speak one language. So it is very sad that one tribe, one nation, one country that speaks one language can turn against one another, killing one another like that. They should be on the forefront to appreciate the need for peace. So I have worked with Somali people, and most of them are my friends. And I know that if we can have peace in Somalia, then that nation will be one of the most enterprising nations. You can see it, for example, in Italy. Italy contributes a lot of revenue to the government, to the business community. So if they can come to Italy and make money, and make a lot of money in Kenya, why not stabilize their country and ensure that Somalia becomes one of the richest nations in Africa? So it is very sad, and I would want to call upon President Kenyatta and the regional government to take Somalia, present this evidence. This evidence is very, the evidence is very overwhelming. So I think it is time to present this evidence at the door of the Somali government and also at the door of the United Nations. As you are aware, if, for example, they have been assisting Al-Shabaab to jab our lines at the border, Mandela, and one of the reasons we don't have teachers, we have a education crisis in northeastern Kenya. It's because Al-Shabaab, they cross the border and come in and they kill our teachers. And that's why many teachers run away from that area. So it's a big crisis. It is not a laughing matter. Yes. So I want to encourage, of course, you tell me that every conflict resolution expert to take this issue as President Kamal's job.
All right. We seem to be having a bit of a technical hitch there from the doctor's side. And of course, Daniel Juma Omondi, the Global Peace Foundation there, was talking and giving us an insight on today's topic. So, is Somalia losing the war on terrorism? That is the question today. And as I read there earlier from the Standard newspaper here, the editorial part, if you have the paper on page 14 of the Standard newspaper today, and very damning report here that the Standard newspaper, one of the leading newspapers here in Kenya, got, and it says that the Somali National Intelligence and Security Agency, NISA, is in bed with Al-Shabaab and is aiding the terrorist group to target Kenyan soldiers. And NISA, the report says, has not only... Yes, we had lost you there for a moment. So,
Dr. Juma, we lost you a bit, and Miriam, thank you for standing in, coming in. But thank you very much. You have made your point. Let me, Miriam, before you come in, let me read one section here from this report. Over the last 2 years, the war-torn Somalia has emerged as a central battleground with the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, each providing weapons or training, military training, to favored factions within the Somali army, exchanging allegations about bribing local officials and the intelligence systems, and competing for the contracts to manage ports or exploit natural resources of Somalia. This is a report, an intelligence report that we have, which shows the two countries fighting over Somalia. It is not our invasion. We are not invading it from our offices. This is an international report where money is being paid to factions through the government and being paid to the president, who knows where these contracts are. And as I said, there was one ventilator in Somalia where the president ordered for the ventilator to be taken to his place. You know, and the journalists took up the matter and wrote. These journalists are rotting in jail. About 4 journalists, as we speak today, are rotting under very hard conditions because they are standing up to say these things in a country that is being pacified. Money is being channeled from Qatar banks to capitals Asmara and another capital, and then it comes in Nairobi. And then it is used against the same forces that we are helping, the same forces that are helping Somalia. As Juma said, Somalia has the same language, the same religion, the same dialect, the same everything. Culture, the customs are the same. Why is it that it cannot stabilize? How long shall we continue to fight a war that does not end? How long? How long are we going to fight a war that has no end? We seem to have this war being a place where we just come to talk or to fight, and the fight, the year ends. Fight and the fight, the year ends. Fight and the fight, the year ends. We must have a timetable. We must have a timetable. And I believe those watching me now, I can see so many good comments. Some are good, some are bad. Some of them are not very good. Yeah, we don't care. But we are trying to see how best we can go. Through Miriam, we'll go through the comments from our friend Abdallah Samad Ali and the others who are hitting us. We don't mind. But how long will this war take? Mm-hmm. What is the timetable? When do we need it ended? Mm-hmm. Because we can see now, even the very people we are trying to help are trying to help the enemy mm-hmm. to kill us, to come and inflict a lot of damage on us who are voluntarily wanted to pacify Somalia. Miriam.
Yes, indeed. And I'll just to add on that, just an excerpt on that editorial from the Standard. I'll read just 2 lines of it, and it says, it is no secret that the relationship between Somalia and Kenya has been sour since the two countries started tussling over their maritime boundaries, and as a result, the two countries have openly engaged in a diplomatic tit-for-tat spats. And then it continues to say, but even with the dispute, which is now at the International Court of Justice, it will be repugnant for Somalia Somalia to fund the terrorists to attack Kenya. So I don't think so. We've been not only Kenya is in Somalia trying to fight Al-Shabaab, but also the AMISOM. There are people who have lost, the countries who have lost their soldiers, their daughters, their sons there in trying to help Somalia win this war. So against the Al-Shabaab. So to see such a report, because the Standard newspaper is a reputable newspaper, one of the leading newspaper in this country, so it will not wake up one morning and start peddling such stories of very high and sensitive in nature in terms of security of this country and also in Somalia.
Miriam,
yes.
The report is not only coming from Standard intelligence networks,
yes,
international intelligence networks. You can see that it is here. Do you know what they are doing, Juma?
Yeah.
United Arab Emirates help to bomb areas where Qatar, you get my point, where Qatar people are to scare them to go away. You see, that is what is happening in Somalia now. Turkey helps this other country to bomb the other one. So if it is a hotel that is owned by the Turks, the Qataris will come and help the terrorists to bomb it. Have you seen the type of war we are getting involved in?
So is Somalia, Doctor, essentially trying to say it does not need any more help from AMISOM there in Somalia, and can Somalia handle its own security as things are right now in Somalia? And the third question is, perhaps, is it time that the Kenyan government devised, ways of exiting Somalia so that perhaps our soldiers can come back to our borders and make sure that our borders from the inside are safer? Which way here forward for Kenya now?
That's a good question for Juma, which way forward for Kenya, because we are now having an enemy within. We can't share intelligence reports with Somali on Al-Shabaab because they will tell them exactly what to do. So we have a problem. Which way Kenya? What can Kenya do now that one on the case of we shall come to the case of the maritime, which we have defeated, which I managed to get that small man called the judge to leave. But let's now answer Miriam's question. Which way, Kenya?
Yes, absolutely. I think Kenya has to recalibrate its strategy on partnership with the government of Somalia on the war against Al-Shabaab. Because if it is true that NISA has been sharing valuable information with Al-Shabaab, then we have to reconsider, we have to recalibrate how we cooperate with the transitional government of Somalia in the war against Al-Shabaab. This, of course, I immediately would want to call upon the Foreign Affairs CS immediately send a protest note because to Somalia, to the ambassador here, and request more information. Let them legislate, the evidence, present them with the evidence, and let them be able to, that would be the most immediate step. If the answers are not satisfactory, then we can take it to another level. We can, again, issue a protest note, of course, to the UN, and of course, also at the AU, to be able to seek for some kind of arbitration, where you call President Farmajo and the senior government, they're able to explain what is that they're doing. Based on that, then we can decide on what are we going to do, what next are we doing? Because it's fighting a pointless war. If the enemy you are fighting is in bed with the government that is supposed to partner with you in fighting that war. So I will leave it to our diplomatic channel to be able to address it. But of course, it is already out in the public domain. My advice is to the President Farmajo that he needs to, even this war, even this boundary dispute, we are one people, we are neighbors. We should find a way of coexisting. Even find a way of even sharing the water. But taking Kenya to court, regarding a boundary, and yet Kenya has been there for it. We have a lot of refugees from Somalia who are living here. Many officials from Somalia they have safe refuge, safe haven here. Not to mention even Sudan, but this is something that I think we have to recalibrate our relations. We have to go, behind the issues and find out whether indeed it is true, and then we can be able to take action. Thank you.
And when you look, thank you very much. When you look at another statement, Miriam, before I come to you, and Juma, before I allow you to go, I am sorry we have to steal most of your time because you are an expert in this field of conflict resolution. Now, the scramble for power in Somalia and the Horn of Africa is in some ways an extension of the Cold War that flared across the Arab world, beginning with the Arab Spring 8 years ago. Qatar and Turkey backed the uprisings against Egypt, Tunisia, and Libya, and the Islamist political parties, and rose to power with them. You saw the president of Egypt dying in prison, the first elected president that was backed by Qatar and Libya and Turkey. Now, the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia are opposed to this same infiltration of Qatar and Turkey into Somalia. Now, when you look at, I have sent a picture to Stephen in the studio. If Miriam can tell him to bring it on, how Qatar people are running for Qatar money. It is believed that the current head of NISA was actually appointed by the Qataris. He's the right-hand man of the Qataris. So he's not serving the people of Somalia. He's serving people of Turkey, of Kuwait, of Qatar. And the Qatar, therefore, some of the bombings, it is very, very worrying, Juma and Miriam, that you are in a city and the bombings are planned by the intelligence of that country. So when they know that this is a project of United Arab Emirates, they go and bomb that restaurant. And then the people run away. So these are some of the things that we need to discuss and find out what is the way forward for Kenya. And still that question of Miriam, Juma, you didn't bring it out for me properly.
But also,
I just need. Yes.
And when
yes,
he prepares to answer that question, perhaps which way Kenya, is it time perhaps Kenya devised an exit strategy from Somalia? Also, he brought up the matter of AU, and I remember when Somalia took Kenya to their International Court of Justice there, the AU even tried to plead with Somalia to come and see if they can talk with Kenya and have an outside of court settlement, but Somalia insisted that it will continue pressing with the case at the ICJ. So now that Mr. Daniel Juma is saying perhaps AU should come in and sort of charter a solution arbitrate between this matter, because this is a very serious matter. It does not just threaten the regional security, but also you've seen Al-Shabaab down in Mozambique, so it has developed tentacles, not just in Somalia and Kenya and affecting the neighboring countries, but across, and it has the potential to grow like Boko Haram is right now. So this is something that is threatening not only the peace in this region, but indeed across Africa and beyond. Who knows? So AU could not convince Somalia to come in and have a conversation with Kenya. So you think this time round, the AU, can it even, will the Somalia be ready to listen to what the African Union has to say about this matter anyway?
What is AU? Juma? What is AU? Brother, I don't know whether you know the circus, which is in AU.
I know what you're talking about.
I think it is the last thing you should have talked on this program to provoke my heart. But let's leave it that way and concentrate on exit. What is the most modest way? There are two things that I want to teach, which you know, and the students who are listening to this program. One, there are two ways of finishing the Somalian conflict. Increase the boots on the ground. Inch by inch, soil by soil. Forget about the Farimajo. Let's go in with troops. Like the Americans went in. That I said I'm suggesting. And the President Museveni is listening to me, and the Kenyan people are listening to me. This strategy could have worked if we poured in troops, like the Ethiopians poured in troops during the Union regime of Sharif Ahmed Sharif. Sweep all the people out, take over power. They can remain pockets of insurgents, but you have removed the main core of the disease. That will work. Because at the moment, the government in Mogadishu is struggling to survive. First of all, to survive by itself corrupt. It is a corrupt government trying to survive by getting people from outside to eat the dollar. So you will never win this war. If you have a corrupt government of Farimajo taking dollars from Qatar, while AMISOM is a seated lame duck. They have done a very good job. Kenya has done a very good job. Either we send in enough troops from African Union, which covers every home state and every area, push these guys to where they can go, either Red Sea or they go to Indian Ocean, we don't care. That's one. Two, engage them. Engage them. Time has come. I think time has come for us to stand above this. Engage these guys. The Americans are engaging the Taliban. Isn't it? Why are you not engaging this guy? If you don't want to send in the troops, then another way is to engage them. Because if you are not engaging them, you see now they're teaming up. They are teaming up with one of our partners, who should have been a partner, and the partner is giving them secrets to come and kill us. So let's disarm the partners by engaging, by allowing a dialogue. We know who the leaders are. Strike a deal. Or another thing, strike a deal with friendly Somalis. Mm-hmm. There are friendly governments in Somalia that are friendly to the troops, the countries that are in Somalia. Strike a deal. Because I am telling you, as long as Mr. Farimajo and Mr. Harye are in power, you will never get that peace.
Doctor, one of our views. Mm-hmm.
Each year will end. Juma, we are talking. Another method. The third one, which is very, very, very important in conflict resolution, is the heart, is the head, the heart, and the food, the stomach. Omutwe, omoyo, nomutima. I don't know what Swahili means here, the brain. What does Swahili mean in Juma? Juma? Eh?
Bongo.
Bongo, ubongo, tumbo na moyo. Aha! Kama unaweka bongo, tumbo na moyo, zinakuwa tatu. Unauliza watu wa Somalia wale wenye wanapigana wanataka nini? What do they want? What is it that they are fighting for? Time has come for us to think. What is it? This is the same country, same religion, same custom, same everything. What is it? Before, and be careful, before Somali nationalism turns against us, and I repeat, before Somali nationalism turns against us, if you want to see the history where Somali nationalism has turned against us, the Islamic courts. You remember how Ethiopians left their shoes, one shoe behind, they went with another shoe to Addis Ababa. One trouser behind, they went with a shirt. Some went naked. Some went naked. They ran naked in the streets of Mogadishu. So let's be careful. Let's start a strategy. Either we pour in a number of troops. Uganda has got over 3 million troops. We are the biggest men around this region in terms of army.
But
the UPDF, if you allowed us, wait, Miriam, if you allowed the President Museveni, I swear he would pour there even 100,000 troops to cover the entire Somalia up to the sea. That's another way. Any military man will tell you that numbers also fight the war. Your dad is a very senior military man. He will tell you, ask him tonight. He will tell you that you can fight the war by huge number. If the enemy sees 200 troops in Mogadishu, it will start panicking. We have not done that. But each year we are going to say AMISOM, AMISOM, AMISOM. It ends. Now, the government which is corrupt is working with the enemy. And then the same government is saying we should withdraw. Have you seen the AMISOM is starting to withdraw sometime this year? They are asking Kenyan troops to leave. Yes, Jamen, policymakers, military thinkers, and those listening to my program, take me serious. Do those three things. Do those three things. When you see these countries now teaming up, you know there's trouble. I told you, when you see Americans running away from a place, if you have a torn shoes and a suitcase with a torn shirt, also put your shoes in the suitcase and run. I told you, that's what they did in Wuhan. When the disease, they saw it was coming, they started running. Unfortunately, this time they did not run properly. The disease had already arrived on the shores of the American soil. So the intelligence was very clear that there was something very wrong. Just as the intelligence now is very clear that there is someone financing our own enemies we are fighting. These are documents, Miriam. Here, look at this document. Yes. Here, and they are all there, intercepted documents. And then we are keeping quiet. We must protect our border, our borders. At the same time, we must also protect the integrity of the people, innocent people who are being killed in that country. And that's why we went there to pacify that region. But the people we want to help to pacify want to pacify us first. Have you seen? They want to pacify us first. And if we are not careful, it is this. You know what has happened? Another point that you have missed is this Egyptian water dam. And for me, Allah, Jesus Christ, gave me this power to say the truth. Wallahi. How can Farimajo also negotiate? How can he be a negotiator when he cannot negotiate with one single shepherd? That he is also negotiating on behalf of Egypt. Have you seen where we have a problem?
On the
And for us in Kenya and Uganda, we are being caught up in catch 22. Egypt asked Farimajo to be the mediator. I want you people to listen to this very carefully and laugh. Even have a big laugh. Farimajo is watching now. You, Mr. Farimajo, let me take off the eyes, then you see me. How can you be a mediator, sure?
On the
to mediate what?
System, yes.
You can't even mediate the oil of fields of Indian Ocean with the President Uhuru Kenyatta. Then you say you want to mediate the dam, the Ethiopian dam, and he has been requested. This is all money. You know, if you see the number of Egyptians who are now in Mogadishu, experts, military experts, who are not under AMISOM, what are they doing there? We have all this intelligence every day. What are they doing there? They are bringing in another angle of the Arab problem being brought from there, where we shall have a Muslim brotherhood coming down here to slaughter us.
Yes, Doctor.
So we have to be careful, Juma and Miriam. Me, I speak my mind. And let Farimajo here that we know how did we intercept you with your Qatar money. We intercepted you. We got you, man. We got you, and we are going to get you more. There is something else coming, which we have on you. Because he's not going to win this war unless he comes back to Africa. He thinks he's half up in the Red Sea, half in Africa. You're African. Somalia was one of the countries in Africa that was a Pan-African country. Somalia helped South Africa to liberate itself. Siad Barre gave South Africa, ANC people, a base to train in Mogadishu, to overthrow the apartheid regime of South Africa. We are not going to sit here to allow you to work on money. Look, 3/4 of the ministers in Somalia have houses in Turkey, Qatar, United Arab Emirates. What about the ordinary Somali man? I'm crying for you. I'm crying for you. I'm crying to safeguard our troops. You can't tell me I'm not a Ugandan. I must talk about Somalia. If you don't want me to talk from Kenya, I have to talk anywhere else because I have Ugandan brothers who have died for you. You have not come to our country to die for us. You have come to our country to make money. You make more money in Kampala than we made money in Mogadishu. Yes, wacha iguake moto kama mnataka kusema. We have given everybody a sanctuary. We are the only country in the world that gives you a visa on entry in Entebbe without any harm. Tell us what we have done wrong. Why do you want to kill us? Why do you want to kill Kenyans? Why do you turn with the enemies? Kwenda huko. Kwenda. Why? So those, Juma, that's it.
Yeah.
And the people here, they are here. Papa, Baba, they are here. I don't want to name them today, but I'm going to name them. They are here. Those who receive the money are here. We shall name them. I will name them. And we are soon catching them. They are here. Don't think we don't know. Hey. You continue walking to Uganda, getting and Eritrea and so many. We shall name you. Tuko karibu ku name you and shame you. You drive these big cars on the money. Hi. That we have bought houses in Karen, Ujinga. We know you. We know you. Today I'm not charged too much. I could have revealed in the names. So don't bring it. Don't. Either we increase the troops, let AMISOM not leave. We go in with 100,000 troops. Sweep the problem out. Or we go and negotiate with these guys. Senor, even the Bible said, you know what the Bible said? That before you reach the court, negotiate with your tormentor to save our lives and the borders and the teachers to return to Mandela. Yes. Kenya is a territory for Kenyans. Why should teachers not teach in Mandela? Walai, ushenzi. Ushenzi nyenye. Ushenzi. Why? Why not? Teachers are running there. So what can we do? We keep quiet? Or we give you food, the brain, and the oil by installing a new government, a good government. Unaona where my third strategy is going. We install a new government there. I told you. Don't keep quiet. This thing is growing. We install a new government there. Yes. Hey. Yes. So you say, let them hear. Well, think we give you visa free. You come to beat us. Now you want to beat our people. Which country do you enter without a visa? It's our country. And you say, Matanga should not talk about it. I mean, I am by blood. My parents are blood and blood and blood. You don't have a question mark on me that I was not born in Uganda. There are some people who have question marks. I don't want to tell you now. I'm a Ugandan. Wow. I have not spoken yet. My other wing has not spoken yet. Then you can see how Uganda is balanced. Just don't try us, you. You make money from our country. Then you come to kill us. Tell us, what have we done wrong? Now you are plotting to kill those younger men there. You are divulging evidence to kill those younger men. Some of them are leaving their wives. Some have produced 0 child. So who will speak for them when they are dead? It is me who to speak now. Farimajo and Harry are wrong people for that country. Third option, toa watu. Thank you very much, Juma. Make your remarks, and William. Mine, I have my students, international students watching this show. Somalia touches me.
Thank you.
When 1991 up to today, I've said Americans left with their trousers in the knees. Now, Juma, is your turn as a conflict resolution expert to soften my language, but I've said it all.
Yeah, so let me just add in conclusion that it is, like I said earlier on, this issue, for those who have not seen it, on page 14 of the Standard today, it is the editorial, of today's newspaper. It is not an issue that we take lightly. As practitioners of international relations, basically, you know, we are experts on how nations relate to one another. And if this is true, if it is true that the Somalia, you know, the Somalia National Intelligence Agency is in bed with Al-Shabaab, then it is time for Kenya to rethink its strategy in Somalia. I don't want to tell them to exit or to add more troops or what. That is work for His Excellency the President and his technocrats. But something must be done, and as we do that, we also must find a lasting resolution for the boundary, the water boundary, which is basically one of our disputes with Somalia. But let me add here that the people of Somalia are very, very, most of the people in Kenya, even most of our political leaders are from Somali origin. So we do not want anybody to turn the people of Somalia against the people of Kenya. We are brothers. We coexist, peacefully, and most, like I said earlier on, many of the entrepreneurs in Kenya, if you go to Italy, many of the entrepreneurs are from Somalia. So anybody who attempts to drive a wedge between us and the people of Somalia, I think will not succeed. But the Somali people must also understand that Kenya is acting in the best interest of the Somali people. We want to stabilize that nation, so that that nation, which is, I'm never been there, but I'm told it's a very beautiful nation. Somebody told me it's like a garden of Eden, very beautiful. That nation must be stabilized, and we have to get investors to come in so that Somalia becomes a respectable family of the African the African nation. We must be able to help Somalia to join, as a part of civilized nation. It must get rid of the charge of the failed nation. And the effort that we started, the work that we started when we went to Somalia, must be achieved. So any other question of us leaving or getting angry or no, but we have to sit down with President Farmajo. We must invite the United Nations. Even though we don't like the AU, we have to have this discussion now and recalibrate our relationship, on our strategy with Somalia moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me leave this minutes. It is 39 minutes past 1. I just want to thank you, our expert, Dr. Daniel Juma Omondi, Executive Director of Global Peace Initiative of Kenya, for having stayed for 1 hour or more, 1.5 hours with us, and for having given us that knowledge from the Kenyan scenario of COVID-19, how one MP called his people to get food in this period, and up to now, the conflict of Somalia, how Somalia is turning and losing the war. I thank you very much, sir, for all the time. We have no time for our correspondent from Khartoum, because time is running and we want to prepare another program. But we want to thank you very much that you are always with us, and we shall always be with you up to the end. Support us, but when you are supporting us, don't mention AU, because it's dead.
Okay, I understand.
Thank you very much, sir. Asante sana. Salamia watoto mzee. Because you know very well that Mama, we have taken time of Mama now this morning. You might be running to buy a few groceries, but we ask you for forgiveness on our behalf.
She understands.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Yeah. Viewers, that is diplomatic, and it was really diplomatic. Today I've been very diplomatic. I now hand over this mantle or whatever Miriam, doctor has been calling. Do you think you can give him 1 minute? Or there's a caller here. There are so many callers. Doctor has been calling. You give him 1 minute before you start and we close.
Sure.
Our correspondent from, he has been calling, and at times he has collected some information for us from. But before he comes in, as we get him, Miriam, I think this is worrying.
It is worrying, and just this editorial I was reading, just a line there before a doctor comes in, it's sold.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, Dr. Matana.
Oh, sorry, Miriam.
Yes, Doctor.
Hold on, Doctor Online. Miriam, finish your...
I have.
Whatever you are...
So it finished by saying that a government that enlists a terrorist to fight another government is not worth its salt.
Exactly. With that evidence, and also make Qatar learn that we know what it is doing. And that is all every time I've emphasized that these countries play with us. The war mentality that they have in the Middle East, in the Gulf states, they want to export it and bring it into Africa. That should not be allowed. So, Dr. Ambassador Tony Jaja in Khartoum, good afternoon in Khartoum.
Good afternoon, Dr. Matanga. Afternoon to you.
Many days we have not talked. How is Khartoum?
Yeah, Khartoum is just now lockdown from Saturday, and people really are not getting it. Even now, where I am staying, that you see there's a long queue of the fuel with the petrol stations and all. So people are not really taking the seriousness about the curfew very well. It's supposed to be a total lockdown. People has to stay home, but they are not taking it that way.
So there is laxity in the curfew lockdown from down to down curfew.
Yeah, the curfew now is there's a free 7 hours from 6 a.m. to 1 afternoon, where you can go for shopping if you want to go to the hospital and all things. But now people are still moving around.
Sudan is an Islamic country, and soon fasting is starting. Have you thought of any implications the fasting for the Muslims will be, and how they will arrange this dawn to dawn cut, given that Muslims go to mosques how many times a day, 6 or 5? So how has Sudan prepared for that before it turns out to be a nightmare for people who want to go and pray?
The minister of religious affairs yesterday has indicated that the mosque and the churches has to be closed, so nobody has to be allowed to go to the mosque. So people have to pray in their houses. So 5 people should not be in one place. Social distancing has to be implemented. So this is now the decree that has come out and the decision of the government that people have to stay in their houses. So there will be no opening of mosques and people go and pray.
We were on the subject of Somalia losing the war, and you are a peace envoy around the world, a peacemaker. Do you think, how long and when do you think the war in Somalia will end?
Dr. Matanga, sometimes people can see what is happening in Somalia is like a total Islamic terrorist. And the Somalis, they are not Christian. They don't have other religions except the Islamic religion, is what they have.
And you have seen America has failed even to bring down the Al-Shabaab. We have seen when America was there, how many of them have died. And now what is happening there has become a business. It's become a business for other people who are sitting somewhere in their hotels, in their houses, their business places, who are sponsoring these small young people. Somalia has everything to be a country that can live a good life. When you see the Somalis around the world, they are business-oriented, business-minded, and this is what we have. We are facing in Africa. So Somalis, they are in Yemen. They are part of Yemen too. Somalis, they are in Djibouti. Somalis in Ethiopia. Then you have Somalis in Kenya. And then you have Somalis in Djibouti. You have Somalis. So this thing is a political orientation that is lacked. People, they don't want to unite. And we are talking about uniting Africa. If this small country like Somalia is not able to unite themselves and have a principle of how to rule themselves with all the wealth they have, with all the resources they have oil, they have businesses. Wherever they are. You see them in America, they are owning that shell. They are owning that shell in every country in the world. The forex bureaus belong to the Somalis. Whether they are Kenyan or whether they are Djiboutians or whether they are Ethiopian or Somali. So they have to come down, and this is what I was sharing last time with the Minister of Foreign Affairs in one of the meetings we met together. And I said, you have to think about your people. You have to come as Somalis, because the Horn of Africa has become a hot soup always. It's become a hot soup. This is where everybody wants to implement his own ideology, his own business. And this is not going to take Africa anywhere. The solution of the Horn of Africa problem, if we have a permanent peace in the Horn of Africa, the whole Africa will have peace. This is what I want to tell you, Dr. Matanda. Now you have the Kenyan military in Somalia, you have the Uganda, you've got UPDF in Somalia. This is really something that we have to work out of it. African Union is too weak and is not able to do anything about this small country called Somalia. That is why they are able to go everywhere to penetrate when the security system destroying nations with what they have done in Dusit Hotel, what they have done in Tanzania, what they have done in Kenya a long time when they brought down the American embassy with connection of other nations who have been identified that who work for these terrorists. So terrorists become a business. It's like a mafia in the whole system. Terrorists become a business for people, and people sitting somewhere in these big countries and this called a first world. They are the one sponsoring them. They are the one sponsoring them, Dr. Musaka.
Thank you very much. It brings me to the strategy which I said, either the three, I think you were listening very carefully when I was talking about the strategy. I said, we either send troops there, huge number of troops, over 100,000 troops to cover up, that the world nations come up with that huge number to go from village to village, valley to valley, until we get a fight and get it over. Or another thing which Americans are doing anyway, the Americans are negotiating with Taliban. They were negotiating with Taliban in Doha. That the people be found who can talk to these guys to stop the killings. Or the third one is the heart, the brain, and the stomach. We have new government in Mogadishu that will accept conditions of the African Union and the international community. That's all I said, and I stand by that. And I think we shall bring you later in the evening, Mr. Dr. Jaja, over a topic that we are sending you specifically. We shall go back to COVID-19
You have seen the ramifications.
Yes,
You have seen the ramifications the world is running. Even people are being taken to court, and people are going to be investigated. You know, so it is becoming hot and soup
yeah,
and soup.
I told you before. I told you before. Yes, I have shared it with you before, even on this line, Dr. Masanga. I said there is going to be a new generation. The old generation of the multi-billionaires are going to go down because they have been messing up for 40 years, killing people, using the vaccine, using the diseases. So this is the time now. God has seen African God is going to do this, bringing these people down. People has to be realistic.
Okay.
They are human like us. They are not superhuman.
Thank you very much. I want to allow my sister and my only bestie friend, Miriam Ogutu, to close this session. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Masanga. Good afternoon, Miriam.
Good afternoon,
Miriam,
good afternoon to you.
You are being greeted.
Dr. Jaja. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
joining
very
us
much,
this
Your
afternoon.
Excellency Farimajo, who was on Twitter. I saw him on Twitter watching. Then thank you very much. Life is as it is. We have started it, Miriam. We are not, don't hurt us. We are only saying the truth, Jamed. We are not the people who brought the intelligence report. We got it. It is circulating. So we have a right to talk about it. Why not? After all, our troops are in that place. Do we quit? Do we increase troops? Do we find food for the stomachs? Find food for the stomach. Find food for the heart. Find food for the brain before they turn against us. I'm telling you. Mark that. Over to you, Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Matanga. Thank you so much, Ambassador Jaja there. And earlier we had Mr. Daniel Juma, who is, the managing director of Global Peace Foundation here in Kenya. We've been looking at Somalia losing the war on terrorism. And and we looked at some evidence that Dr. Matanga brought forth, and also the editorial on the Standard newspaper, and a lot of weighty issues are being raised here. So what I would think now, or I would imagine that Somalia government should do now, is perhaps respond to some of these claims, and Kenya has a right to hear what Somalia government has to say for itself. Somalia government should do the rightful thing and respond to some of these claims, because should this be true, then this will go a long way in negating every gains that have been made in terms of fighting Al-Shabaab, the lives that have been lost there in Somalia. And Kenya, we've paid a huge cost here from Al-Shabaab. So this is not a very slight matter. As Kenyans here, we've been first-hand, we've suffered, and that is not something that we take very lightly, and the government does not take very lightly. So we deserve answers. The government of Kenya should compel the government of Somalia to respond to that, and of course, I'm sure the government of Somalia will do the right thing. I'm hoping it responds to these claims, because this is not very light matter. So thank you so much, our viewers. Thank you so much for participating and engaging with us. We cannot read your comments. There's so many here, and I've seen lots of you writing, and telling us how you feel about this, and others, of course, our brothers and sisters there from Somalia. Others are not very happy, but hey, we have to speak it, otherwise nobody will. So thank you so much, and we shall see you in our next broadcast. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miriam. Thank you very much. My bestie. Good afternoon.
must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.